Today I'm going to be talking about the three key emotions that all of us face as humans. These are the emotions of anxiety, panic, and worry. And related to this could be any other state of a toxic stress. And I'll explain this further. First strategy is that of being tired. Now, you might say that, what has that got to do with our emotional state? A lot. Friends, our brain has to make up to 8,000 decisions, conscious decisions, every day. These things could be as simple as what kind of dress we want to wear today, what is the color of shoes that we want to wear today, or what is the food that we are having for lunch or for dinner, to something significant like where are we investing our money or our time today. So these decisions need energy, they need focus. But when our brain has to make multiple decisions, for example, we are bombarded with information, so much information which is coming to us in the form of, WhatsApp, emails, text messages, phone calls, television news, social media. All these things warrant our decision, our brain to be constantly making these decisions. And when our brain is constantly making decisions, it then reaches a capacity when it hasn't got as much focus to make decisions, and that's where the state of decision fatigue comes. It gets too tired that it cannot now efficiently make those decisions. So that's what happens when you start feeling exhausted. You may physically not be exhausted, but your brain feels drained. So, friends, there is this famous thing which says that your physiology can change your psychology. Another way of saying that is motion can change your emotion. So what I talk about is that when you start focusing on your taking care of your body, your fatigue or your tiredness goes away slowly and you are better able to see things. So the three strategies in that are, number one is focus on your diet. Now, if you are eating predominantly processed foods, as most of our Western society is used to, well, you are going to have an unhealthy gut health and also an unhealthy gut microbiome. These are the bacteria that live in your gut, as I just mentioned, and they start to feed on the processed food, the sugars and the chemicals and all of that, and they start to overtake the good bacteria. There is well-established gut-brain axis which is there, and this gut-brain axis is that your gut is your second brain. It has got almost 5 million neurons, which is more than the neurons that are there in your spinal cord. It's got its own nervous system, which is called the enteric nervous system. It is constantly in communication with your brain. So this gut-brain axis, when you start feeding good food to the gut, which is to the gut bacteria, then your communication with the brain starts to become more efficient. What are good foods? Well, I use the 80-20 rule when I talk to my clients. The 80-20 rule is 80% of the time you are having predominantly whole food, plant-based diet. The other 20% of the time you can have a little bit of chicken, a little bit of fish, you can have some eggs if that's what you want. You can even have a piece of chocolate. Nothing wrong with that. I like my piece of dark chocolate as well. And you can have occasionally a piece of cake and things like that. That's perfectly okay. We all got to live life. We all got to celebrate life. But that's the 80-20 rule. So the first thing is, when you start shifting your diet, you are not as tired as often. So that's number one. Number two, second strategy is to drink 1.5 liters of filtered water on a daily basis. I personally recommend filtered water only for the reason that even though we may have a good water quality wherever you may be living, but generally speaking, there is a lot of pollution and toxicity in the water that we are getting in our water supply. Most importantly, friends, none of us is reaching even a liter of water in a day. Our body is 65% water. Our brain is almost 70% water. it's important to understand that when you are dehydrated, your body and your brain is not functioning optimally. So it's crucial to keep yourself hydrated. And the third and the most important thing over here is to make sure that you're getting 6 to 8 hours of good quality sleep. It is crucial to have good quality, and one of the strategies that I often recommend why people don't get a good quality sleep is they are constantly thinking about things that they have to do the next day, that they forgot to do on the day that they are going to sleep, so they have to remember to do it the next day. It is swirling around in their head. And one simple strategy that I suggest is have a small spiral notebook on the side of your bed and just write down whatever's going on in your mind. Just write it down, that I have to pay this invoice tomorrow, or I have to make this phone call tomorrow. You know what? The moment you put it down on a piece of paper, your brain says, thank you. I don't have to worry about remembering it. I can chill out and I can relax. And that is the beauty of what allows you 6 to 8 hours of good, sound quality sleep. Now, let's move on to the second reason why we go into emotional states of panic, fear, worry, and anxiety. And friends, it is so pertinent at the moment in the times when we are self-isolating. There is this global fear of the coronavirus and what it's going to do, also our economic meltdown. This is happening. Well, the second thing is being bored. All right. Now, being bored is really meaning that you are not being challenged enough. There is not enough excitement. And one of the reasons for that also is that you don't know what actually excites you. This is where connecting with your own self, your intuition, using your intuition, your gut instinct, something that gives you those butterflies in the stomach, those emotions that you experience when you're going for an interview or going for your first date. Those are the things, those are the intuitions that arise from your gut. Your gut intuition is basically a hunch that is telling you, go and do it. Have the courage, go ahead and take that class or whatever it may be, or the course. Now, friends, when you have weak gut health, which means that almost 90% of our society today experiences some form of weak gut health. What I mean by that is they could have issues starting with as benign or as simple as reflux or nausea or constipation or irritable bowel, which are fairly common but fairly distressing symptoms from an overall quality point of view. Or it could be as serious as having inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's colitis, or ulcerative colitis, or even bowel cancer. These are fairly rampant, as you know, in our society. When you start working on your gut health with the things that I have just mentioned briefly as far as your diet and water intake goes, your intuition starts to become strong. What I mean by that is you start to trust your intuition. And that is what is important over here, that optimizing your gut health is the number one strategy. And you can do that once again by the simple 80-20 rule. 80% of the time having a whole food, which means whole food plant-based diet. Mind you, I'm not saying vegetarian or vegan because I don't believe sugar is vegan, beer is vegan. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it should be a whole food, which means a natural source of plants and predominantly not coming from packets. So that's what is meaning by whole food plant-based. Second thing is this thing called as shape shifting. Shape shifting means that you are shifting or making a conscious shift in your thinking from short term to long term. What I mean by that is whenever we are in a stressful response, which means whenever we are worrying, anxiety, stress, or whatever it may be, we are always narrowing our focus into the short term, which means I need to protect myself. How much time do I have? What is the space in my environment that I need to, as they say, the fight or the flight response? I'm only worried about me. But when you consciously make an effort and shift it to a long-term thinking, which means, okay, I'm experiencing this emotion now, what would the implication of this be in, say, 2 days or in 2 months? or 2 years for that matter. The longer you're thinking, the more is your foresight, and then you start to realize that maybe it doesn't need as much energy at this point in time. And the third and the most important tool, friends, that I have used often is that of journaling. Journaling is a really, really powerful exercise. I've been doing my journals now for over 6 years, and what I've realized is there is one simple practice that you can do before you go to bed, and it actually not only gives you a great quality sleep, but it also helps you gain clarity. And what that is answering just 3 simple questions. Number 1, what did I learn today? Just write down, what did I learn today? It could be a very simple interaction with a friend who taught you that, you know what, I was feeling upset, but I still chose to make a decision that was in the best interest of our relationship, whatever it may be. Number 2, express gratitude to 5 people or 5 things, gratitude for 5 things. What it could mean is even as simple as that, you know, I'm so grateful for the beautiful sunshine that I could see today. So you can always find something to be grateful for. And the third thing is, what is my intention for the following day? I intend to bring my best self to a meeting, to a situation that I'm going to be engaging or encountering tomorrow. Whatever it is, that's your intention for the following day. So friends, those are the tools that will allow you to overcome boredom relatively quickly, and you will start finding meaning in things that you do. The third emotion that we all experience is that, and which forms the basis, by the way, of once again anxiety, panic, and fear, is that of being uninvolved. By uninvolved, yes, you might say it's an extension of being bored, but I think when you are not excited or challenged enough, you lose the involvement. You stop bringing your presence into things. That's really what I mean by being uninvolved. And what it really means is that when we haven't given ourselves a chance to find what our drivers are, which means what our interests are, what has our attention, what gives meaning to our time and our time that we spend with either with others or with ourselves, or what are our values, what is it that we stand for. When we haven't given enough time to explore answers to those things, we are then leading a very superficial life. That means we are not really involved, we are not really invested in anything, we are just doing everything from a very superficial perspective, and we can't use that as a challenge that excites us. So friends, as they say, self-discovery is self-empowerment. There is a lot of truth into that. Now, what I say is, like, for example, my own drivers are, I love to learn. I love to connect with new people, ask them what they are doing, what their life experiences have been, and learn from them. And I love being of service, like you are giving me an opportunity to be of service. This act of preparing a video really excites me because I feel I can be of immense service and reach as many people as I can. So when you find your drivers, you start feeling more and more involved. What are the steps that we can do to actually engage in that? Well, number 1, it is a bottom-up approach. What do I mean by that? So the way to bring involvement, to shift your state from being uninvolved to being involved is, number 1, we start with this exercise called, as they say, your motion can change your emotion. So first is a box breathing exercise. Now I'll encourage you, if you're not driving, well, just pay attention to this and let's do a box breathing exercise together. What that means is that you breathe in and out like a box. Okay, when I say box, I mean just like the edges or the corners of the sides of a square. So on the count of 4, we inhale. Then on the next count of 4, we hold the breath. Then on the next count of 4, we exhale. And on the next count of 4, we again hold. That's called box breathing. It's a very effective tool that is used in yogic exercises and others other forms of breathing methods in order to get our attention and to get us grounded. That's the most important thing. Grounding means really nothing else but really connecting with yourself in the moment, bringing your presence to the current moment. So let's do the box breathing together. Please close your eyes. If you're driving, if you can, pull the car aside, that's good. Otherwise, just listen to me. And what we are doing is close your eyes, inhale to the count of 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again you can do this cycle. I recommend doing this cycle for at least 5 times to be able to shift. You have to count in your mind as you are inhaling, holding your breath, exhaling, and then again holding your breath. Try this, friends, and I can tell you it will quickly start to shift your chain of negative thoughts and it will stabilize that train. All right. This is, by the way, a technique that is used in yoga, Tai Chi. I personally sometimes have also used very often. If I know that I'm going into a negative chain of thoughts, I am going to wear my runners and I'm going to go for a run, put some nice music, and that's what I do. I have a few different playlists and I just go for a run. Or there is this thing called as HIIT, high intensity interval training. Once again, based on the principle that your motion, your bodily motion can change your emotion. Next thing, friends, is write it down. Writing gives you a lot of clarity. So we are going from bottom up, which means right from the physical things going all the way to the mind. So writing it down again is a very powerful psycho-neuromotor activity. What it means is you are giving a form to your thoughts. When you write down, you answer questions, like you break it down. If there is a difficult situation that you're experiencing, you write down, why is this happening? What could be the reasons why this is happening? Then you prioritize the solutions that may be there. Like, what are the possible solutions that could be there for this problem? Could it be that I need to look at a different perspective? Could it be that I need to make a phone call and ask this person what could be the solution? And you know what? As you start writing, you will start to realize that the right answers start to pop out. It's a beautiful exercise. The only rule is you have to keep writing without getting your analytical brain into it. Just keep writing. Don't stop. Just let the thoughts flow. Let the thoughts flow. And the last thing is must take a small action at the end of it. When you start writing, when you've written, say enough to fill up a full page or a page and a half or even 2 pages for that matter, because you may have so much stuff that you want to pour it all out. At the end of it, make sure that you take some action, which means that out of your writing, you might come up with this intuition that says to you that pick up the phone and call person XYZ, whoever it may be. Make sure you do that. Don't just say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, because you and I both know that tomorrow never comes. So that's the strategy number 2. And the third strategy, friends, is that of meditation. Now, I know you would have heard a lot about meditation from a lot of sources, and yes, there are different styles and all of that. But hear me out. Meditation now has got a scientific evidence behind it about its efficacy. And as they say, if meditation was put into a pill, it would be the most highly prescribed pill today, because we need it today much more than any other time in history, because we are so distracted. Our brains are in a state of fatigue all the time. We've got problems like ADHD, autism, and spectrum disorders in our kids, predominantly because we are not able to focus. So even if you can start with 5 minutes of either giving yourself a quiet time and focusing on your breathing, you could still do the box breathing. That's a form of meditation as well. Or you can put some light music in your ears. Or if you want, you can go onto my websites. There are plenty of meditations on YouTube as well. On my website, there are a few free meditations that are there. You're welcome to check it out. And that would give you a little bit of a perspective on grounding. It will allow you to understand the bigger picture that you are then able to see and most importantly, it will give you a connection with your own core values, which is something that we have all lost in this day and age, friends, because we find that we can easily get distracted in states of television, social media, partying, drinking, smoking, and taking drugs. So that is what we need at the moment, which is a connection with our own core values. Now, if all of this has really resonated well with you, I would urge you to try out my live radical wellness classes that I run on a Sunday morning, and details can be found out on the link to my website, which is at the below or around this video somewhere, but it can be found out on my website www.drarundhir.com. And in those classes, it's a 90-minute class online where we go through a session of information and then yoga, which is a powerful mind-body exercise, and then we do 25 minutes of guided meditation. You're welcome to check it out. And if you've liked this video, please subscribe to it and do share it with anyone who you think who might get value out of this. Thank you once again for watching.